cosa más rica. Ay, cómo me duele mi negrito.
Honduras was an essential ally to America in the 80s, when the US was fighting its war against the spread of communism in Central America. Successive US administrations claimed that if Central America was allowed to fall, Texas would be next. Honduras shares a border with 3 countries that had large left-wing guerrilla movements, so it soon became home to the largest CIA base outside America. It was from here that they funded and trained the Contras who were attacking Nicaragua. Today it's important as a transit country for drug smugglers, who face much less resistance than the communists.
Well, this is in Alancho province, which is supposed to be the most dangerous area of Honduras. Everyone's supposed to be armed, and apparently justice is interpreted loosely. And we came in knowing the base was protected by Honduran troops and thinking we might have to sneak in and it could be very dangerous. And we actually ended up embarrassing 2 young boys who are the only, two of only 3 soldiers who are controlling the busiest area for narco-trafficking in Honduras, if not Central America.
Professor Juan Almendarez was a liberal who was tortured in the 80s. He showed us around a base where American soldiers lived and worked.
The cement.
Yeah.
Pero sí pasan de noche.
But during the night, there are many planes who go across to here. But because they are here, so they avoid that they can land.
But the soldiers are only here during the day?
And also during night. Yeah.
They are here during the night?
Yeah,
right.
They're working during the night.
Unless they hear the sound of propellers, in which case they go and have a cup of tea somewhere. But if drug traffickers were landing here, would they not be heavily armed?
Por lo menos tenemos que pedir también un
ayuda.
refuerzo,
But so far they haven't actually caught anybody?
No.
Little remains of the base today.
This place was built by the Americans?
Yes, yes.
This was built by the CIA in 1983?
Yes. There are many of these. Some have been destroyed. You see, there's some part.
Yeah. So Nicaragua had fallen to left-wing guerrillas. El Salvador was having a very tough time containing left-wing guerrillas. And in 1983, there was evidence that a small group of left-wing guerrillas were starting to organise here in Honduras. The CIA in 1983 called that the most significant international security threat. And by the end of the year, there were 6,000 US troops on this base. They're running away from the soldier.
The professor was one of many who were tortured for their left-wing beliefs.
Hooks in the ceiling, is that one?
Apparently, probably it was a way to hang the people, to tie or to hang people.
If they were both bolted down with those holes as well as the one on the other end, that would be a perfect thing to put someone's hands through and hang them from the ceiling. Or hang them up against the wall rather.
In the last few years, the remains of 28 bodies have been found on the grounds of the base.
Many bodies could be buried here.
So far they've dug up 5 different mass graves here on the base?
Yes, it must be more. You can see also there is another...
Evidence of murder and torture was erased from the US Embassy's annual reports to Congress, who could have blocked the flow of military aid. The ambassador at the time was John Negroponte, who is now the ambassador to Iraq. Today, there is evidence that the death squads are back, only now it's a different group of people being killed. We went to meet witnesses of a recent massacre.
So we just walked into Honduras' largest prison, where there's quite a lot of violence. There's the riots here aren't quite the same as back at home. They don't just sit on the roof for 4 hours. The last time there was a riot in a prison in Honduras, there were 78 people killed. And they somehow managed to get their hands on handguns, grenades and even M16s. So I've got my escape route planned. According to their statistics, there are 1,300 that have been sentenced,
Yes.
and just under 2,000 are being processed
Yeah, almost 3,000
in total.
in total.
And the ones who are still being processed, how long can they be kept without trial?
There are people 5, 10 years even.
5 or 10 years without trial?
Here, as in El Salvador, deportees from the US and a free market in guns have led to a massive number of gangs.
So this is the section for gang members.
Yes.
There are two main gangs throughout Central America, 18th Street and Mara Salvatrucha, or MS. Both gangs have their own wings in the prison, which they look after and control. They even decide who comes in and out.
They prepare their own food. How many people live here? 4 or 5 people.
So he's done 6 weeks of a 30-year sentence
Yes, yes,
for murder.
yes. Mother.
There are cement bags stacked up, and apparently it was cement bags that were used to smuggle in M16s and hand grenades and handguns into the other prison where they had a riot.
Se le hacen dibujos.
Jewelry,
Se pinta y se
an
hacen
ashtray?
dibujos.
Sí, joyero, sí.
Joyero.
Joyas.
So we've just come from the main prison, which is beyond that huge wall there. We're asked to see some prisoners from the 18th Street gang. They've taken us out the front gates of the prison, right around, and to a completely separate prison, which they haven't even finished building yet.
Los de save es muy importante porque eso es una de las tareas específicas de ellos, ¿verdad?
We have to negotiate access, not with the prison guards, but with the top men from 18th Street inside this section.
Tomas. Las tomas no, dígalo. Sí, eso de las tomas.
Gracias.
So they let us in, but they're a lot more edgy here. The doctor said they've been persecuted. I haven't had a chance to find out what that means yet. But they've shifted us straight into almost like a cell being built with just 2 small windows, because they said that if we did the interview outside in the courtyard, someone could throw a grenade in from outside.
We met 2 survivors of a recent massacre. They claimed they were locked in their cells, which were then set on fire.
They told us to come out if we wanted to insult them, because they were going to kill us. The first gang member left holding up his hands. When he reached the door, they began to shoot, and we, the other gang members, were locked in cell 2. And as we came out, they started killing us.
65 inmates died, along with 3 visitors. A few weeks after this interview, a fire in another prison killed 103 inmates, and most of them were gang members.
Okay.
But the general public are happy that the streets are being cleaned up, and don't mind reading about gang members dying in suspicious circumstances.